Jimmy Hoffa wasn't just another labor leader. He was a storm wearing a suit. A man who clawed his way up from the rough streets of Detroit to command one of the largest and most powerful unions in American history, the Teamsters. Millions respected him. Millions feared him. And some wanted him gone. Hoffa believed in power, but more importantly, he believed it belonged to the working man. He took on corporations with the confidence of a king and faced down politicians with the swagger of a gangster. But that attitude came at a price, because the more influence he gained, the more his enemies multiplied in the dark. By the 1950s and 60s, the Teamsters Union had become an empire. And like every empire in history, it attracted dangerous alliances. Hoffa struck deals with the mafia, organized crime families who saw opportunity in the Teamsters' enormous pension funds. Money that could fund businesses or bury them. Hoffa wasn't stupid. He knew exactly who he was dealing with. He trusted the mafia only as far as he could control them. And when he couldn't, he made them regret trying to mess with him. He pushed back. He played their game harder, louder, and with more force than they ever expected from a man with a briefcase instead of a gun. But power doesn't stay balanced for long. The U.S. government, especially Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, saw Hoffa as a cancer spreading through the nation's economic heart. Kennedy launched a relentless campaign to bring him down. Wiretaps, investigations, informants. Hoffa refused to bow. He laughed in the government's face. In his world, intimidation wasn't a tactic, it was oxygen. Eventually the law caught up with him. In 1967, Hoffa was convicted of jury tampering, fraud, and bribery. Prison bars could lock his body, but they couldn't cage his ego. Behind those walls, he stewed in anger and planned his comeback. When he was released early in 1971, Hoffa returned to a world that had moved on without him. The Teamsters were now under the control of men he didn't trust, including leaders with deep mafia loyalty. Hoffa wanted his throne back. He demanded it. But the mob had new business, new alliances, and zero interest in an old king reclaiming power. Yet Hoffa pushed forward anyway, with a stubbornness that bordered on suicidal. He believed the Teamsters were his life's work, and he would take them back even if he had to burn every bridge that once supported him. By summer of 1975, tension exploded. Hoffa was meeting with mob-connected figures. Arguments turned into threats. He didn't care. He thought he was untouchable. He had forgotten one critical rule. The mafia doesn't send warnings, only messages. On July 30th, 1975, Jimmy Hoffa dressed sharply as usual, wearing a navy suit and a crisp white shirt. He left his Michigan home just after 1:30 p.m., telling his family he was going to the Machu's Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township. A meeting with two mob figures he once called friends, Tony Pro, Provenzano and Anthony Giacalone. He carried no protection. Hoffa believed his reputation was armor enough. He waited outside the restaurant, pacing, angry that his guests were late. A few witnesses noticed him. A man growing more frustrated by the minute, checking his watch, staring at the parking lot like a wolf expecting prey. That is the last confirmed moment anyone ever saw Jimmy Hoffa alive. What happened in the minutes after would become one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. No body, no crime scene, no real explanation, just silence and fear. Because when a man like Hoffa disappears, someone powerful made sure he never comes back. To this day, his vanishing remains a question that haunts the nation. How do you make one of the most famous men in America vanish into thin air without leaving a trace? The answer lies in the shadows Hoffa once controlled, shadows that finally swallowed him whole. Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance wasn't a moment. It was a carefully executed erasure, the kind of job that takes planning, loyalty, and ice-cold precision. Whoever orchestrated it knew what Hoffa wanted, his power, and they knew he'd never stop fighting to get it back. Investigators dug into Hoffa's final hours like archaeologists searching through a tomb. They discovered that the meeting Hoffa believed he was attending was never real. Tony Pro and Giacalone insisted they never scheduled anything. The mafia didn't deny Hoffa existed, they denied he mattered. The FBI quickly realized Hoffa had walked into a trap. His car was found in the parking lot. But no Hoffa. The next step was to hunt for witnesses, anyone who saw him get into another vehicle. They found just enough fragments to paint a chilling picture. Hoffa got into a maroon Mercury Marquis, likely believing he was being escorted to the meeting he expected. He trusted the wrong men on the wrong day. From there, the truth gets darker. Rumors spread that Hoffa was taken to a private residence, possibly a house connected to Detroit mob captain Vito Billy Jack Giacalone. The abduction would have been silent, efficient. Hoffa, despite his size and confidence, stood little chance against multiple armed men. The goal wasn't torture. It was elimination. Some believe he was killed almost immediately. A gunshot, a chokehold, a quick end to a man who made too many enemies feel small. Others say he begged and fought until the final second, that he died furious, not afraid. The next question was as important as the killing itself. How do you destroy a body that the entire country is searching for? Many theories emerged, some chilling, some outrageous. One claimed Hoffa was buried under the Giants Stadium in New Jersey, right beneath the turf where thousands cheered every year, unaware of the grave beneath them. Another suggested his remains were hidden in the foundation of high-rise buildings constructed with mob-controlled concrete. A third insisted he was cremated in a nearby Detroit funeral home, reduced to ash before anyone even realized he was gone. The mafia doesn't leave evidence. They erase it. With no body, no crime scene, and no physical proof, the FBI hit wall after wall. Every suspect they interrogated stayed loyal to the code of silence. Some smirked. Some shrugged. None slipped. Dead men tell no tales, and men who want to stay alive don't tell mafia secrets. Years passed. Leads dried up. Files collected dust. Hoffa's family suffered publicly, but the mob didn't blink. To them, Hoffa's disappearance wasn't personal. It was business. He had become a threat to their control. And threats don't retire. They get removed. Still, the legend of Jimmy Hoffa refuses to die. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire. Every hidden basement, every forgotten field, seemed like a potential burial site. His name still sparks debate in bars, documentaries, and FBI offices. Because unanswered questions linger like ghosts. Who gave the order? Tony Pro? Giacalone? Someone higher in the chain? Someone Hoffa never even suspected? Did Hoffa see it coming in those final moments? Did he realize that the power he built, the power he believed would protect him, was the very reason he was being erased? The only truth we know is this. On a warm summer afternoon in 1975, Jimmy Hoffa stepped into a car and vanished into America's criminal history. His voice was silenced. His enemies sighed in relief, and an entire country was left with a riddle that may never be solved. The disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa is not just a crime story. It's a warning that the pursuit of power comes with a price that can't always be counted in money, but sometimes in silence. A silence so absolute, even time feels afraid to break it.